So this is going to be a series of few videos of how I assembled a 2-gauge A-Pillar pod for a 1998 Toyota Tacoma. So first gen. So this is the transmission temp sensor. It's a B&M 8212, and this is my oil pressure sensor. It's a Bosch FST 7001 Sport ST, and this. So in order to tighten them down against the A-Pillar pod, you have to cut the mounting posts that come with each gauge, and you're gonna have to cut it in such a way to where it's almost like a half moon, and in order to, because it's not gonna fit all the way around. So you can kind of see where it hits the wall right there. So you're gonna have to cut it. Give me a break. Come on. So you're gonna have to cut it. So you see how it hits the wall over there, kinda. So for the B&M gauge, you have to cut that ring, so to speak, so that you can tighten it down. And you're gonna have to shave off a little bit of the, so you can't really see it. So the top black part, right? The top black part where you see those nuts mounted to, holding it down. So just under that, you have to, and you'll see what I mean when you assemble it yourself. You're gonna have to take a Dremel and grind down you can kind of see right there, that's a molded. On the opposite side, that open spot right there, it's solid. So in other words, so you gotta shave down that wall right there, so to speak. Talking about on the other side. So anyways, because then those aren't gonna fit. Talking about these guys. Talking about those guys. So those aren't gonna fit. That black mounting piece, it's gonna hit the very top of these wire connectors, right? It's gonna hit that, so you're not gonna be able to mount it all the way down. So the height of that thing isn't tall enough. So by the time you mount it down, you're going to have a gap right there where it's supposed to, see where it's meeting the molding, the A-Pillar pod molding, right? You're going to have a gap right there because it's not going to sit down all the way flush. So you got to shave some of that wall away. I wish I could show you the other side. These things, anyways, just trust me. You'll see it when you go start assembling this thing. But you want it to make it flush, just like that, just like how you see it. But also, in order to do that, you gotta, again, this is for the this black piece is for the oil pressure gauge. So, and as a matter of fact, this is a perfect example. See how tall this is? Well, on the B&M mount, pressure mount, I don't know what else you would call it, but this on the B&M is much smaller. So here you got plenty of tightening room, right? And that's the other thing. See how, in order to make it fit, see how I had to cut this part right here? It's gonna hit the wall on that side. See where I have that? See where I have that nut? I put that nut down just far enough to where on this end the nut's going to sit just underneath this, so that when you go tighten this down, you're going to notice that if you don't have that nut on that other side to push up, right? As you tighten this one down, this side's going to go down, which I'm not understanding that one, but that's exactly what happened. So in order to alleviate that, I put that nut, as you see right there, I put it down just enough to where it sits underneath this. It sits under this. And then this nut and the washer and the split go on top on this side. And this is the side that you tighten down. You don't technically tighten down this side. This side is resting up again against that nut, right? So when you go to tighten this guy down, tighten it down just tight enough. Don't gorilla force it. Tighten it down just enough, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some blue Loctite on the threads and even on top of the nut, and then just kind of let it seep in. And again, you have to, this thing, when it comes as a whole, this piece right here, this bottom piece right here, it's all the way around. It's rounded, right? So you got to cut it if you're going to mount this, which you should. Some people press fitted their gauges. I'm not going to recommend doing that. I do light to medium off-roading, so it can get pretty crazy. I don't recommend just a press fit. Cut it, but don't cut too much, right? Cut it a little bit at a time until it just meets the wall, right? And again, when you go to start piecing this thing together, you're going to notice what I'm talking about. So don't cut too much off all at once. Just little by little until you finally get it to where it goes in those holes. For this piece at least, it goes in those holes and it touches that wall and it touches the wall over here on this side. Right there. You kind of see it. And so anyways, and then it'll mount flush against that. And that's what you want. You want to even see how it's flush mounted all the way across. That's what you want. So the next video, I'll talk about the these gauges. So this B&M 8212 is the part number, or the kit, I should say. They no longer make this. but you can still buy it from, like, say, Summit Racing, or you can even get them on Amazon. They still sell them as a kit. As far as the sensors, so the temp sensor for this guy right here, Summit Racing used to sell them. You can no longer get them. And you can't just buy any temp sensor. It's called a resistance curve, and that resistance curve has to match these gauges. Not necessarily this gauge in particular. It doesn't have to be one-to-one match per gauge, but the temperature curve, the resistance temperature curve, as far as it has to match this model of gauge. I don't know how it's better to explain that. So in short, if you just get, say, like a universal temp gauge, right, your readings might actually be hotter or colder, because it's not the resistance curve does not match the calibration, if you will, of what this gauge is calibrated at. Talking about this model number gauge, right? So same thing for the oil pressure gauge. You just can't buy any universal gauge, if you will. You have to pretty much one of two things: either buy the original sender unit that came with the kit, or you can buy a universal, but you have to make sure that you do some measurements and make sure that those resistance curves basically match what the original sender unit is calibrated at. And then you can see how the wire mounts, the wire nuts, and then so this gauge, the Bosch FST 7001 Sport ST, is the kit for this guy. They no longer make that as well. So you can find the sender unit, but it's really hard to so, and to buy the full kit, I don't think you can even get this one anymore. The B&M transmission temperature gauge kit you can buy as a whole kit still from Summit Racing or Amazon. But this Bosch oil pressure gauge, I can't find anywhere anymore. So this is it. So if this gauge or the sender goes out, I'm just gonna have to buy like an autometer or something like that. And I wired it in such a way to where there's minimal impact on the wiring itself, at least hopefully. And that'll be the next video. So I'm going to mount this to my OEM A-Pillar, the Tacoma A-Pillar mount, this guy right here, and that's going to be the next video. I'm going to show you what I did there, as far as like, so for this mounting hole and this mounting hole, the A-Pillar, the pod gauge, you can get from LC Engineering, and they sell it for the 1998 first gen. I don't know if it fits all first gens, but definitely a 1998 Toyota Tacoma first gen, the LC Engineering 2 gauge pod that they sell has 2 mounting holes, that hole and that hole, and that'll be the next video. I had to make this mounting plate that you see, so because when you take the the A-Pillar off the Tacoma, that's where the handle went. These two holes, right? Talking about the big holes, right? So this two-gauge pod, the mounting hole is right there, and it just so happens to go through that big hole. There's nothing you can mount to because there's nothing you can mount to. Over here, see where I had to drill that tiny hole? That's where that hole lines up. So it lined up just right to where I could mount the screw to it, right? And anyways, that'll be the next video, and I'll explain the wiring as well. The B&M has a positive for that's the light, and then the negative on the light is the negative to the actual that's the, you can see the red, that's the positive, the black is the negative, the yellow is the sense wire. So the sense wire goes right there, the negative goes in the middle, and the positive, the 12 volt if you will, goes right there on the outside edge. So red, blue, and then the sense wire, the yellow wire. And so anyway, so going back to the internal light, that clip right there, the white wire, I made it white. The clip right there goes to the positive, and then again the light, the internal light, that little gray mount right there, you unscrew that, and that's where the light bulb is. It's one of those incandescent light bulbs. And the negative is the ground of the whole unit itself. So pretty good design. I liked it. And then the reasoning for the shrink tube, the reasoning for that is I'll explain on the next video. I keep saying that. But anyways, I had to drill these holes for the wires to go through, right? And anyways, that'll be on the next video. But the reasoning for the shrink tubing is so that the wire doesn't chafe up against the hole right there. Because at some point it's gonna rub. The wires are gonna rub against that the opening, the hole. And it's an attempt to try to alleviate the possible, very likely chafing. So I'm going to end the video here for now, and I'll explain a little bit more about this metal bracket mounting piece, where I got it, and a little bit of the wiring for the gauges. So this will probably be like a 3-part video maybe, but this isn't necessarily the install, it's how I assembled the pieces together. And the rest is kind of, I don't know, maybe I'll do a partial kind of an install video of how I routed the wires through the essentially through the side, the edge, and going down to the essentially the inside fuse box that's located just underneath the dash. On at least on the 1998, I can speak for there's a dimmer switch for the your little cluster panel. There's a dimmer switch. Just underneath that dimmer switch, there's a fuse panel, and that's where essentially most of the 99% of the wiring is going to that fuse panel. and that white wire is going to the dimmer switch. At least that's what they recommend in the manual for both gauges, actually. So that white wire, and then on this oil pressure gauge, it comes like that, how you see it, and it's clipped, and then on the other side it's clipped. That's how it comes. You clip them together, and then the white wire is a positive, the blue wire is a negative, at least in this case. And I hooked up the blue wire to the ground of both, essentially both of these. The ground on that one and the ground on that one, that's essentially where that blue wire goes, as you see right there. That'll be the next video. So enough talking for now. That'll be the next video. Expect 3 parts, maybe 4. So it's more of, again, it's more of how I put the 2 pieces together, and the rest is kind of obvious when you go to do it yourself. I'm just hoping that, because I ran into a lot of you know, I don't know, I don't want to say problems, just things that I thought about that didn't look too good. I wouldn't have done it. That's the reason why you're going to see those shaves right there. I ground those down, and I'll explain that in the next video. So enough talking. See you on the next video.